We imagine a single figure at the camp's edge, fingers burning with sap, palms lined with shallow cuts, breath thin as a strand pulled from bark. We imagine a choice: let go and fall, or bind and hold. Today rope is a craft, a sport, an instrument. Then it was a bargain with hunger, height and weather. But that's not all. To understand the first human who made a rope, stop chasing a name and start seeing a pattern. Beginnings in nature are rarely singular. They arrive like rain, 1,000 fibres, not one. Consider the world before dates and maps. Branches combed the air, vines stitched canopies to trunks, sinew kept muscle true to bone, hides stretched and yielded, then remembered their shape. Where there were fibres, there was possibility. To pull, to tie, to carry, to lift. And where the world threatened to come apart, bodies learned what words could not yet teach. Strip, twist, lay, tension. No ancestor wrote that curriculum, necessity did. Start with a child, because play is evolution's most patient teacher. A dry wind opens a seam in a poplar, and pale ribbons of inner bark peek out. A child with resin-dark elbows teases one ribbon free, folds it, twists, watches it lengthen into something tougher than a single strip. Once, twice. It does not break. Panic, about the weight about to fall, softens into laughter. An older cousin shows a trick. Make each strand thinner, twist two in the same direction, then twist those two together in the opposite direction so they bite. By sundown, accident has rhythm. By season's end, the rhythm has a name the mouth hasn't learned yet. Rope. Shift the scene. A honey-sweet cliff face above a river bend. A branch grows out and down, a hive sagging from a hollow. A teenager tracks the elder's path and then stops, transfixed by amber glinting in the sun. Wind tugs the branch. The ground retreats. The body leans too far, close enough to frighten, close enough to invent. Hands worry strips of bark into cords, feet pin the bundle, teeth clamp the end. A clumsy cable arrives not from design but imitation, a vine that refuses to snap, a tendon that takes a load without complaint, a bird threading stem to make shelter. Ugly, unforgettable, indispensable. Now the crossing. On the far bank lies a straight, pale trunk perfect for a raised firebed that keeps coals dry when floodwater licks the earth. Two adults decide. Strip what's not needed, test fibre by pulling it to failure, trade bare grip for a made grip. They learn rules no one wrote, thin into thick spreads force. Don't pull fibres only along their weakness, turn them against themselves so they hold each other. A knot is not a scar in a line, but a loop of memory. By nightfall there is a ritual. Who chews the fibres soft with saliva, who holds the tension, who twists left with the thigh, who twists right with the palm, who counts how many reins a cord might bear. Knowledge enters culture as choreography. But was there a first? Minds love a hero, a crown on a beginning. Nature prefers a chorus. Skills governed by sensation grip, evenness, balance of torque, do not detonate from genius. They accrete from repetition. 1,000 turns teach one smooth lay. 100 failures teach one chord that holds. No stone keeps the first loop. No bone remembers the first hum of fibres growing stronger together than apart. What remains are clues. Camps where heavy things hung, not lay. Polish marks on stones where bark was softened. Carved lines spiralling around the waists of figures and the bodies of jars. Proverbs in which to bind also means to save and to restrain. The archive is not ink, it is habit. Still, imagine a face. Small body, warm light near the fire, knees powdered with pith, hair tacky with sap, a step too bold, a weight too heavy, danger pulls like a hand, then strand, twist, miracle repeat. Material stops being a crumble and becomes a strength that can be added to itself. The child coughs resin, laughs, offers the elders a spinning thread and describes it with hands, like wringing rain into a stream, like persuading grass to behave like muscle. By the fire, story becomes instruction. Tomorrow 2 more will try with a younger bark that forgives mistakes. By the next moon, the skill no longer belongs to accident. It belongs to everyone. But that's not all. Matter is generous and matter is cruel. For every bundle that held, one burst. For every knot that endured a storm, another slipped at the worst possible moment. Embedded in every practical art is a quiet tragedy. Learning happens because it must. Remembering happens because forgetting hurts. In one camp, an elder warns, "Don't twist dry when the air smells of thunder." In another, a song sets the cadence. 2 turns with, 1 turn against. Instruction becomes superstition. Superstition becomes safety. Safety leaves space for courage. And courage, tempered by grief, makes a culture that binds. Listen to the metaphors inherited. Hanging by a thread. Tie up loose ends. Losing the thread. These phrases come from a memory older than writing. The world as weight, the person as a knot that keeps the world from pulling life apart. To keep the knot is to live. To share the knot is to belong. Centuries later, when hands bite stone and paint licks cave walls, spirals wrap jars, crisscrossed bands hug shields, loops grip belts and baskets, are these ropes? Or dances for gods who love order coaxed from chaos? Interpretations argue necessity doesn't. It asks the old question, again and again, can you bring drifting things together and not suffocate what they hold? The answer is not an invention. It is a practice. Imagine another path to rope. Hunger. Fishers stand thigh-deep in brown water to set woven traps. An arm's length farther means a richer catch. An arm's length farther means a stronger current. Rope holds the trap holds the fish holds the day. A mother teaches a child to soften before twisting moisten and knead fibres so they want to listen. The lesson is counterintuitive and therefore powerful. To hold sometimes introduce slack. Bend, wet, then twist, in that order. Who discovered this? Not a hero, a community. Now consider power. Those with rope can suspend fire above flood. Those who can suspend can trade, escape, raid, seek. Rope is not merely a skill, it is border technology. It turns a cliff from wall into ladder. It changes the shape of safety and the reach of hunger. The first rope makers expanded the map not by drawing it, but by binding it. Learning knots, people say, as if it happens in a single evening. It doesn't. It happens in layers. First, the strand humility before the small, then the twist stubbornness harnessed to purpose, then the counter twist, the collaboration of fibres that hold each other like water, holds a body. Then the knot, the metronome of reliability. Once the knot has rhythm, the rest is choreography. Soon techniques diversify. A quick single ply for bundling kindling, a fixed loop to hoist a carcass, a supple cord for netting, a stiff hawser for a crossing where strength matters more than grace. Every knot is a story about context. Every story solves a specific problem, and solutions spread not by decree but by imitation. Picture a glinting afternoon when someone tests a new idea. 2 thin cords twisted into one, 2 of those laid in opposition into another, then those 2 counterlaid until the whole hums. Fingers alternate, palms roll against thigh, forearms sing. The movement looks fussy. It is not. Strength appears, not for contest but for urgency. Get the trap down before the tide, keep the fire above the rain, haul the load up slope before dark. Technique emerges when time is short, but that's not all. Rope is not only movement but meaning. Twisting changes us. It teaches patience, makes the world obedient by the width of a cord. It shrinks attention to the heat of the palm and expands it to the span of a river crossing. The first person to make a rope learned more than mechanics. They learned a feeling, the strange consoling truth that what pulls you apart can be arranged to hold you together if asked correctly. Enter tragedy. There is a night when the wind arrives too fast. A walkway rehearsed 100 times becomes a gamble. A mother and a child bring a bundle of kindling lashed to a log. The gust shifts, the current fattens, a knot familiar to boredom slithers loose. Hands choose. In the morning the camp changes the rules. No untreated bark in dry air. No hanging weights when reeds bow east. A small shrine grows where roots meet rock, not because the world is cruel, because memory becomes merciful only when it becomes instruction. This is how hard knowledge survives. It is paid for. Now, empathy. Not everyone learned as a child. Some came to twisting with fear already settled in bone fear taught by stories, by losses, by the heaviness of adulthood that hates to look foolish in front of quick small hands. For them the first sound strand is revelation and revolt. Saliva slicks the fibres, palms find cadence, shoulders unclench. Trust arrives as edges stop fraying. The body remembers what the mind resisted. Grip is not belief, it is fact. The first human who made rope whoever and wherever trusted a fact before, there was a word for it. Return to the question, who was the first, someone without a name, in a place without a map? Probably a child in tree shade by water, taught by laughter, imitation, and a small scare that ended in a held load rather than a fall. That person does not get monuments. They are honoured by repetition. Yes, this can be bound. Yes, air, fire, and life can be carried across emptiness. Yes, warmth can cross a gap, and the present. Hands train on vices and trails. Twists are counted, knots practiced, diagrams kept in pockets and in muscle. Toddlers braid bright cords, elders switch to loops that forgive tired fingers. The material is the same. Reasons have shifted, but bodies have not. They still wake to the old rhythm. Strand, twist, counter, knot. A sequence, a song, a survival. The joy of tension is the soft echo of the first hard lesson. Cohesion is life, but that's not all. Rope reshaped imagination. It turned a chasm into a threshold and at the same time into an image. Stories speak of bonds as vows and breaks as losses. Saints and monsters are made from the same line because the line makes saints and monsters of us, depending on how we hold it. The first rope maker did not invent this symbolism. They gave it a body. There is grace in the notion that a beginning can be many beginnings, that thousands of small private victories turn by turn, strand by strand, made a public fact. Humans can bind the world to themselves. This is the opposite of a great man theory. It is a great pattern theory. Patterns are harder to worship, easier to trust. So what remains, once the easy romance is stripped away? The hunger for one hero, the comfort of a date and a name, a scene. Late sun striking fibres like hammered gold. Children ankle-deep in grass, daring one another, shrieking, leaping and retreating, braver by the minute. An elder grinning, ready to step in, ready to step back. Someone goes too far. There is a moment of silence, then friction, then a loop, then a laugh that sounds like crying. And knowledge, smelling of bark, walks into camp. Listen carefully at any fire on any warm evening and it can still be heard. The old lesson spoken in 1,000 new voices, not the words, the rhythm. Strand, twist, counter, knot, again, again, again. So who was the first human to make a rope? A child, the kind born in every time and place who discovered that fear can be spun into order. That what drifts apart can be persuaded to hold. That the body knows more than language when the world starts to unravel. In this sense, the first rope maker is not behind us. They are beside us every time someone trembling but determined presses fibres together and decides the world will hold. Beginnings are not moments, they are patterns, and this pattern is still with us. One careful turn, one pulled breath, one patient knot, and life grows wider than the gap.